The truth is, most leadership advice comes off like it's coming straight out of a textbook. But the reality is that leadership at times can be complicated, stressful, and at times messy. I mean, you got humans, egos, emotions, expectations, all thrown into this mix of chaos. But in case you didn't know, there are rules to leadership that no one talks about. Not in the onboarding brief, not in your mentorship talk, and definitely not in your 3-day workshop on soft skills. So instead of giving you another checklist or cookie cutter strategy, let's talk about the real rules. The ones nobody says out loud, but every leader learns eventually. Today, we're going to talk about 6 unspoken rules of leadership nobody tells you about. So if you've ever had a bad boss, a confusing supervisor, or even been that leader trying to figure it out, this is for you. So let's do it. Hey, what's good, family? Mike Sarge here. Before we dive into today's topic, please be sure to show your support for the channel by liking this video and then also hitting the subscribe button. Okay, so if you are stepping into leadership or you're just trying to survive it, there are some unspoken rules that leaders end up learning the hard way and that you don't ultimately want to learn the hard way. The first rule of leadership: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You see, new leaders often rush to make changes so that they can leave a mark. The problem is, if you end up breaking something that wasn't broken before and didn't need change, you could end up losing credibility before you even get started. To give you a quick example of this, a couple years ago, I was a part of an organization that was going through a leadership change. Now, this individual that was coming in, they had previously been with our organization prior, so many of us just thought, okay, it'll be a pretty smooth change. However, one day this leader decided to make the decision 2 weeks in to change our lunch breaks from an hour to 30 minutes. Now, from their perspective, it wasn't that much of a big deal. Unfortunately, they didn't discuss this decision with anyone and solely made the decision based off of the fact that they personally didn't need that much time for a lunch break. What they never considered was that people use that time to recharge, to re-engage with other people, to catch up on projects, or in a very specific case, there was someone that would leave the building to go take care of their family, and they would use the remaining 30 minutes for transit back and forth. So as a leader, just be mindful that sometimes the status quo is okay. Next up, as a leader, you're always being watched, even when you think you're not. Yes, if you're a leader, a supervisor, a manager, a parent, or anyone in any type of an influential role, people are watching what you're doing and what you're saying. I'm talking about everything that you say. I'm talking about how you react under pressure. I'm talking about who you choose to praise, who you choose to avoid. All of that sends a message. You are always on the record. And people don't say this often, but even your silence can either protect trust or destroy it. Why? Well, because leaders don't just communicate through their words. You communicate through your absence as well. So when something hard or disrespectful or unjust happens and you become silent, you get silent on the situation, the message is loud that either it doesn't matter to me, it's not that big of a deal, or I'm okay with it. So just be mindful of that. The next rule, it's not about always being right. It's about getting it right. Now listen, some leaders struggle with this truth more than others, but this is something that you do not want to skip over. Sometimes your team will have the better idea. Yeah. Sometimes that lower tier individual, the one that doesn't have much of a position or doesn't have a lot of experience or doesn't have a lot of ranks, sometimes they say something that holds you accountable and those on your team accountable. Or dare I say, sometimes you mess up and sometimes your own experience misleads you in a decision that you make. Something that I can promise you, your ego won't win the war, but humility might. The next rule, your character speaks louder than your position. Now, earlier we talked about the fact that you're always on record and that people are always watching. But more specifically, we watch how you treat the people that can't help you. We pay attention to the people that can do nothing for you and how you treat those individuals. How do you treat the intern? How do you treat the junior employee? How do you treat the secretary or that overlooked team member? That in itself tells us everything we need to know about who you really are. Rule number 5, don't confuse control with leadership. Trying to control every little detail, it's not helpful for you, your team, or the mission, goal, or objective. It's not. And honestly, usually control has more to do with insecurities than it does excellence. So as a reminder, be sure to empower your people, because eventually they'll just stop trying. So this next rule, I really need you to pay attention. It's about valuing consistency over perfection. Now, I'm not really talking about the work itself. I'm not talking about the mission and the things that you got to get done on a daily, weekly, monthly, or annual basis. What I'm really talking about is consistency in the way that you lead. I need you to listen to me on this. Inconsistent leaders cause anxiety. Why? Because no one on your team, no one in your organization knows what version of you is going to show up. If you've ever been on a team where you felt like you were constantly walking on eggshells every single day around your boss, you know how uncomfortable that is. You know how that feels. The truth is, if you're a supervisor, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, your bad days become everyone else's problem, regardless if you view it that way or not. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to be disingenuous and show up every day by faking it. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying be sure to manage your emotions and manage your impact. Listen, no one tells you this stuff up front. And I kind of wish that someone had told me all these things that I'm telling you now. So here's the challenge. Which one of these rules hit hardest for you, and which ones are you going to start working on? Because let's be real, the world has enough managers. So let's build more leaders. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build better leaders and grow to be better ones. One video at a time. And remember, let's create and dominate.